Hello, my friends. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Joe Theodore, and thank you so much for joining me today or tonight, whenever you're watching this. So, I want to talk about courage and your sun sign. Now, believe it or not, I might be the only astrologer on YouTube who doesn't constantly bring up sun signs. And there's a reason for that. And I've actually done a lot of introspection on myself over the years on why I don't really focus on sun signs in, regular conversation with people, or if I'm doing a consultation necessarily. Again, sun signs are important, but it depends on where a conversation leads or a reading leads. Because to be quite honest, what I've learned about myself and what I've learned about all the readings I've done in my life and all the study I've done in my life is that your sun sign is virtually impossible to manifest fully in its fullest destined potential unless you figure out all of the kinks and wrinkles and all of the other very important parts of your life, aka your soul contract birth chart. Your moon sign and your rising sign are so important to understand, to master to the best of your ability. Just having basic awareness of how to have a functioning moon sign is incredibly important for any sort of true and healthy and authentic sun sign. Because your sun sign is a point of destiny, it is an ego, it is a costume, it is a mask, energetically speaking, that needs to go hand in hand with a role you play in life, right? It is an energy and a light that you need to manifest and become. The sun is an act of becoming. The sun illumines the darkness. So the sun illumines what wasn't there in the first place, or what we don't normally see at nighttime. So the sun is there as a potential, right? Because the sun isn't necessarily an innate quality to your everyday experience, especially as you grow up, right? Because yes, here's the thing with astrology, guys. And in my masterclass, Mapping the Soul, I talk a lot about this type of thing. Every single planet, including the sun, already resides within us. There's no outside world, right? Everything, the highest spiritual teaching is that everything within is without. So the reason why astrology works is because archetypally, astrology has been designed to be a co-creative force with the way our psyches are operating, and the way that psyches and just human behavior, generally speaking, works, how it works. So your sun sign is a point of destiny, which must be meticulously crafted over the course of your life. And it is your greatest weapon in fulfilling any sort of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. So yes, throughout your life, your sun sign is present. We have moments where you can even be a child, and if the child's a Leo, you can already tell, like, that child has this expressive nature and wants to be seen, and maybe is already taking an inclination to acting or theater or singing, and just maybe not afraid to be out in the open. But more than half of the time, it's not a totality of that child's experience. Believe it or not, most Leos, even children, they'll have moments where you can tell, oh my God, like, it seems like they really want to express themselves. Like, that's great. But if you observe the rest of their life experience, this is why I tell parents who have Leo children, yeah, you might already see the Leo-ness in them for sure. But I guarantee you, if you observe them, you'll also notice tendencies of them being introverted, or them being shy, or them not having courage or confidence. And part of the Leo sun journey is to actually have confidence, have courage, right? And I know the video title of this video mentions courage, but Leo is all about courage, but when I talk about sun signs in this video today, I want to say that, it takes courage to manifest any light as a human being, because we live in a world that is very dark most of the time. We live in a world that has been built by men that don't want to see most of our light shine in the fullest potential. There's rules, regulations, systems, governments, and religions for a reason, and most of them are to control people, to dim light, to bow down and be submissive to some higher authority. Now, the only higher authority I believe we should be bowing down to is obviously the creator of the universe, or all of reality, so to speak. But if you really want to get metaphysical, I feel we are God in a way. We are all here breathing and living and existing because we are within the dreaming God's mind. So I believe God just wants us to fulfill the highest purpose that brings us the most joy, inspiration, and creativity. And karmically speaking, we don't always have that, in our everyday experience, because I do feel the law of karma is a thing. I believe the Buddhists probably have some kind of truth to their wheel of samsara, from lifetime to lifetime. There could be some truth to why some people have challenging lives versus not challenging lives. But in my opinion, every challenging life can still be managed, with a particular outlook and a particular way of coming into the world. Even in some of the most war-torn, horrible places in the earth, I believe some of those people still find moments of joy and peace and faith and spirituality, whatever the case may be, even in those lives. And I won't speculate further on that conversation. But the sun, my friends, I don't talk about it a lot because I feel there's so many other issues and problems going on in our soul contract. There's so many other challenges and shadows with all the planets and the aspects. Every single one of us has some kind of a story or challenge to overcome. We all have a Chiron wound that is very personal and sacred and deep. We all have Pluto placements, and depending on what aspects that is all. So again, there's so much shit that we're constantly dealing with that, I don't talk about the sun sign that much because the last thing I want to do, until it's very necessary to talk about it, I don't want to just go right to the bubbly sun stuff, right? I think there's so much more to work out before you can truly, even gain the courage you need to become the fullest expression of your sun sign. Now, just because I don't mention the sun signs that much in my videos, I've only done one video on sun signs actually, that doesn't mean I don't have a lot to say on them, because I do have a lot to say on the sun signs. I believe that our sun signs are one of the most important placements. It's one of the big three. That's what we say in astrology. The big three is your sun, moon, and rising. But your sun sign needs to be well supported by everything else in order to function. Some sun signs are afflicted, right? Some sun signs are conjunct with planets that make it, even wounded. Maybe, if you have Mars conjunct your sun, you might have a loose mouth. You might get way too energized and say the wrong thing at the wrong time. You may have a passion to fight for what you believe in, which can also be a detriment because not a lot of people are, ready for that kind of Mars sun energy. But your sun sign is crucial for manifesting destiny. It is a part of your life you need to show up with the most courage. So no matter what zodiac sign your sun is in, no matter what house topic your sun is in, courage is something that I've found a common thread around people's lives and their journey in fulfilling their destiny, period, full stop. Because the sun and the North Node sort of show the destiny of your life on the two most major areas of your life you need to focus on as far as fulfillment, purpose, and meaning, right? because the rising sign just shows you who you are in the world. Your innate impression to the world, how you innately come off in the world, things that are just innately your identity. And your moon is that secret world of the way you think and feel, integrate emotion, things that you need for your safety and security, things that make you feel good. The way you vibe with other people is greatly reliant on what your moon sign is. What kind of energies do you need? What others' zodiac sign energies are conducive for your moon energy? What kind of activities and, pursuits in life are going to most fulfill your moon sign? Because again, if we don't fulfill the moon sign, like a Gemini moon, for example, I'll use my own moon for an example. Like if I'm not in a constant state of curiosity and learning, if I'm not learning things, if I'm not engaging in mental stimuli that's a benefit to my advancement, and whatever, or if I'm not communicating with other people or expressing how I feel or just chit-chatting, then there's a part of me that just feels like dead inside. But on the flip side of that, I do love my peace and my harmony and my stillness and my quiet time, because usually those are the times where I integrate, all of the things I've learned, all of the education, all the stimuli. So a moon sign needs to be able to operate in its own expression, and it needs to have the things come to itself in order to, be a healthy moon. And then the sun, guys, this is where we're talking about destiny, right? Because your destiny is not your moon, your destiny is not your rising sign, so to speak, right? The destiny of how to become a healthy moon or a healthy rising sign is a thing. But like your sun is your true destiny when it comes to what am I meant to be doing in this world? What mask do I need to wear to fulfill the role as the actor in this play, this cosmic play? What costume and mask do I need to put on? Now, I know in a lot of spiritual traditions, it's all about removing the mask. Meditation is all about shedding the ego, shedding the self. And there's a purpose for that. There's a great need for that. There's a amazing spiritual significance and understanding. You're not necessarily the self. You're this pure being and consciousness behind the self. Like that's your true nature as a soul, right? The essence that's one with God, if you will. But we're here on earth to play in a game of theater and as an actor. And whatever the karma is that brought us here is what it is. But your sun sign is showing you, hey, this is a part of your life. This is a zodiac sign energy that is meant for you to grow into. This is the, part of your life you need to really focus on and have courage in, right? So if you have your sun sign in the 7th house, this means that your destiny is meant to shine in your one-on-one relationships. Like your destiny resides in the realms of marriage, one-on-one partnerships, business partnerships, anything that has to do with you and one other person, typically speaking, one other entity, one other idea, right? Because the 7th house can be your relationship to learning. People don't talk about that. Anything that you and an other, right, can be connected with. And to me, other can represent philosophical ideas, just businesses, brand stuff. If you're a business owner, right, your identity being a brand to someone else, or if you have a business, you're linked very much to your business and another business. The 7th house is all about just relationship. It's just marriage and one-on-one people, and, with others is usually typically what that is. But I've seen people with suns in the 7th house that are like, my goal is to have a business, meaning the opposite of the sun is the 1st house. Sun is in the 7th house. So part of their life purpose is to have their business, 1st house identity. Right directly across from that is their costume and their ego, and their destiny is to create an entity that involves bringing other people together, or their business is there to help others, right? But typically speaking, that might be a little unnatural for someone with the sun in the 7th house. With someone with the sun in the 9th house, Part of their destiny lies in all things sort of Sagittarius, all things sort of philosophy, religion, spirituality, travel, foreign cultures, potentially even government stuff. Being open and curious and a truth seeker. And yes, throughout one's life, there may be inclinations to those things. Like I can tell you right now where my sun is in my birth chart. Throughout my life, I always had inclinations to that particular house topic. Like I always knew like, wow, that theme of my life is really, really important. And of course, I didn't know this stuff until I understood my astrology. But when I reflected on it, I'm like, wow, I've always been very curious about that part of my life. But I've also always been pretty weary of it. And I always sort of had, this weird question mark around if that's a path I need to be going down. So for me, my sun was, yes, I always had that energy and that destiny kind of brewing. But it took me until I got much older, until I understood my astrology, and then I was continuing to watch my life unfold, that I began to notice that not only should I be pursuing that part of my life fully, but that I also had a destiny there, that I needed to have courage to do something potentially important, there. So when we get to a certain point in our life, we usually are faced with some destiny that gives us an option to fulfill or not fulfill or delay, right? And then unfortunately, some people go through their entire life and don't really fulfill any destiny, which is a shame. But the sun sign isn't so natural as everyone in the pop astrology world likes to claim. I think a lot of people pretend that they're their sun sign when in reality they haven't really done any work on some of the other crucial parts of their birth chart that can allow that sun to really be an authentic expression. Like for example, if a Leo sun had a moon sign that was very afflicted or was in its very shadowy nature, you can pretend, those people sometimes can pretend to be the courageous, expressive Leo, right? But the truth is that it might just all be a show. It might be something that's like a cry for help. They might not actually be expressing themselves. They might be, pretending to express themselves because, there's a part of their life that's afflicted or wounded. There's a lot of Leo suns with moon signs that are, either in detriment or exile or, have a challenging aspect to them. And, they're very well aware that their sun sign expression is something they very much desire and they very much are clear on it. And, most people in the world know their sun sign and they kind of know a base, read of what their sun sign is supposed to be doing. But a lot of like Leo suns, for example, we can even include Aries sun. I'll just stick to the fire suns that are supposed to be very expressive, outwardly focused. With a debilitated moon sign or a moon sign that is, in some sort of a shadow aspect, a shadowy nature. Even though those people can seem like they're expressing themselves in those sun signs, that Leo, that Aries, that Sagittarius, at the end of the day, they might know that they're not being authentic. Like they're just doing things to do them. They're not doing it from a place of truth and authenticity. So that's why I believe, and I've done enough readings where I believe that a lot of people with sun signs aren't truly expressing them until they, understand more deeply their moon, their rising sign, of course, because if you don't have a clear sense of your identity, from a rising sign perspective, then, how can you possibly have a healthy ego? How can you possibly, express your sun properly? And I would never use the terminology false light, but people who pretend to be something they're not are technically emitting a false light, because anyone can pretend to shine light. Anyone can pretend to express, something, but are they really feeling it? Is it really authentic? You know what I mean? You know, like a Virgo sun. A Virgo sun is meant to really fulfill a destiny, to shine light on their mind, to really use their mind and their analytics and their intelligence to the fullest of their ability. And wherever Virgo is in that person's birth chart will greatly depend on where that mind needs to illuminate, where that mind needs to be organized and structured and a master of perception. You know, and sometimes Virgos, you know, suffer medical issues or deal with medical things. And sometimes a Virgo sun is meant to bring, you know, health, wellness, balance, medical attention, spiritual care, healing. You know, there's a very powerful element of wanting to teach or heal. You know, teaching is healing, you know, sharing ideas that can help people or open their mind. So Virgos, you know, I feel are very well destined. Virgo suns are very, very much destined to offer healing and using their mind in the highest of senses to provide, you know, insight to whatever particular area of their life the sun falls in. But if their moon is messed up, if their rising sign is not fulfilled, if for any reason other planets are not being dealt with, if their Chiron is weak, you know, this is why astrology is so important. And this is why people go through their lives suffering and going through psychological problems, this, that, and the other thing, you know. And again, yes, there's so many other external factors in the world, karmically speaking, from the collective and the government and all the things that oppress people that have nothing really to do with your astrology, so to speak. But excluding that shit, we have enough already with our astrology chart, with our own genetic makeups and our own life experience, right? So how can anyone possibly fulfill the greatest potential of their sun sign unless you handle a lot of other things first? Now, I know this may not make sense to a lot of people because maybe a lot of people haven't really thought about it this way, or maybe people honestly have been walking around faking a lot of what their sun is. You know, that's also true. Like, I can tell you from my experience, I don't all the time fulfill what my sun is asking of me. You know, I'm a Leo sun, and I can tell you right now, behind closed doors, I mean, it may not seem like it on camera here, but I'm a very introverted person. I'm pretty quiet. You know, I like keeping to myself. But throughout my entire life, I always knew that I wanted to share ideas with the world. I've always been a musician. You know, when I was younger, not so much now. But I always had this feeling of I want to come to the world, right? I want to share what things I do, things I care about with others. Like, I want to be on that stage. But most of my life has been a challenge to find the right ways to do that, the right audiences, you know, finding the right group of people to start a band with. You know, if anyone knew my personal life, it would make sense. But my Leo, again, the desire to be on stage, the desire to want to share things I love and care about, you know, in a physical way, and to have the courage to do so. It's taking me my entire life, and I still struggle with it. Like, I'm petrified of public speaking, still petrified. But a Leo sun, you know, part of their journey is if they need to public speak or get used to doing public speaking, or even, you know, speaking in front of a camera. I mean, like, doing YouTube is a huge achievement in my world because many people can't sit here for long periods of time and talk to a camera lens, which is really you beautiful people, because it's just so foreign to them maybe. And it took me a long time to get comfortable, you know. And I even, you know, there was a time in my life where I was involved in a lot of filmmaking in New York. You know, I took a lot of acting classes at one point just because I was dealing with a lot of theater and I was screenwriting and stuff, you know, doing a lot of different things in the art world. I mean, the art world was a big part of my past. So little by little throughout my life, I've, picked up Leo things along the way that gave me more and more courage and confidence. And courage is so important once you figure out all the other shit in your birth chart, in your life, and your wounding and your traumas. And that's why I say, at some point, courage is needed to really fulfill, your sun sign authentically. Because I believe a lot of us are not innately the sun. And that's what I've been saying since the beginning of the channel's inception, when I talked a lot about astrology, when I talk about the rising and the moon. That's why I'm so obsessed with the moon. I love doing moon readings for people because the moon can change your entire life. That's why I have a class on the moon, link down in the description if you want to go to my classes. Because the moon is so important for our inner tide, our inner balance, right? The moon regulates the oceans on Earth. The moon regulates our inner world. If your moon is not regulated, good luck, is all I have to say. Anyway, guys, this video is already at 26 minutes, so I will end there. I do hope you enjoyed this today. Please let me know what your thoughts and theories on and regarding your life. And my friends, if you want to learn anything else about me, book a reading, purchase any of my courses or classes, all the links are down below. Click around, explore, and maybe I'll see you in a reading soon. All right, guys. Well, that's all. I will see you in the next video. Sending you so much love.